48, 49, 50. Oh hey, I didn't see you there. I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. And today, we've got a very special video, in their own words, about the boot camp experience. That time when every young sailor and Marine learns the proper way to do a chin-up. Prior to World War II, it was not entirely uncommon for somebody desiring to enter the service to just show up at a military installation or ship and request to sign paperwork. Especially in the 1930s during the Great Depression, I've heard of a couple of stories of this happening. But by the time New Jersey entered service during the war, it seems like every sailor who served on board went through one of the Navy's boot camps, or Marine Corps, or whatever service they went through, or officers do different programs and whatnot. But you get what I mean. So there was a time when a sailor could show up on a ship and just get all their indoctrination, everything issued to them from on board. But especially by World War II and on, there has been a formal training period associated with this. And it's worth mentioning that the formal experience predates that. It's just that you could show up potentially or go through the formal experience depending on how you find a recruiter. Now, throughout this ship's whole career, boot camp is one of those common experiences that service members have. In fact, if you want to find out if somebody has stolen valor, you ask them some question to the extent of what was your boot camp class, and they should be able to say, oh, I was a alphanumeric whatever combination here, or oh, I don't remember. Nobody who was in the service doesn't remember. My grandfather in his 90s could tell you when he went to boot camp and what class he was in. So because it was a common experience, we have lots of oral history footage of sailors recounting their time in boot camp.
Okay. And where was boot camp for you?
San Diego, so I didn't have to do the shot in the butt. But no, so went to boot camp. So I joined December 26th, and I went into the delayed entry program. So March 25th of 1985 is when I actually went on active duty. When I joined the Navy, I joined as an AZ, the rate of aviation yeoman. And my dad, who worked downtown San Diego at the time, who also served in the Navy during the Vietnam era as a radioman. I ran up to his office and I said, Dad, I did it. I signed up. I'm going to be an AZ. He said, an ass? I don't want you to be that. And he got on the phone to the head recruiter in San Diego, and they had me changed to a radioman. So that's how I ended up going to boot camp in San Diego, because radioman A school was in boot camp.
Okay.
No, it was in San Diego.
I think about the only thing that I could share with as far as boot camp. A lot of guys at the time were upset that their recruiters maybe lied to them or didn't tell them the exact truth. And it kind of, for me, I had the inside scoop because my brothers had already warned me what it was going to be like. And I actually wrote a thank you letter to my recruiter because the day that I got a hold of the recruiter, I was looking. I came home from work, and I was getting ready to dial the recruiter's number, and the phone rang. And it was a new recruiter to the station, and he seen a year prior in high school that I was interested in joining the Navy. So he was checking on me. So I think God had something to do with that part of me getting connected to the recruiter at that time.
I got to Great Lakes in the end of September, and my very first memory of it was there's a tunnel that you have to march through to go from one side of the base to the other, and that tunnel was probably this deep with water. So our company marched up to it, and we all still had our long hair. We just got to the base, and we all kind of stopped, and the Chief Markley, the boot camp commander, said, "What are you guys waiting for? Get going." We all looked at each other and marched through chest-deep water to get to the other side, where we got our heads shaved and started the whole boot camp process. That's a good one that sticks in memory. And then probably my second best one was, as everybody was brand new, and we were just getting indoctrinated, and we had the opportunity to sign up for the Montgomery GI Bill. And they explained that it would take $50 a paycheck out of your paycheck for 1 year, and then you would get your, I think it was $14,400 at the end for college. And the first person walked into the chief's office, and he said, "Tell me, you want the GI Bill or not? If you don't, you better explain to me why." And the first guy went through, and he said, "Yeah, I can't afford that. I got a girlfriend at home, and I need all my money, so I'm not going to take the GI Bill." And Chief Markley said, "You're taking it. Next." And it went that way for the next 80 people. He basically wasn't letting a young and dumb sailor, not even a sailor yet, to say they weren't going to take the college benefit. So we all ended up with taking the GI Bill.
Just to fast forward, did that help you after?
Used every penny of it. I did get my degree in college because of it.
Obviously, usually, especially back in the 80s when my hair was real long, I got there, my hair was real long. And I've got some pictures in my yearbook where it shows me at the beginning and then at the end as my hair is falling to the ground. And that's probably the biggest, that's when you know that you joined the military. They cut all your hair off back then. So
Going down the steps, step over the bottom step, and if you don't, you had to get down kayak. Never understood why, but we found out later when we got aboard ship. After that, then we started doing all kinds of drills and things like that. And we went on to rifle ranges and shooting ranges and whatever. But we had to go to PT every day. I hated PT. But my uncle told me never volunteer for anything. And when you first start, they'll have you do a lot of exercises. So only do half of what you can do, because when you're done, they want you to be able to do more. So I did great. I did half, and then when I was done my exercises for good, I improved immensely. And PT, I get tired of going to PT because when you got there, a lot of times you'd have these buckets with cement on the end, and you had to pick it over your head. And you had to hold it up until the weakest person in the place would hold it up. In the meantime, you're putting it down. So I figured it was something easier than this. So they had boxing tournaments. So when I signed up for it, so I got out of PT to go practice for boxing. But after boxing a couple times, I wasn't too swift with that either, because the gloves weighed a ton. You could hardly hold them up.
Well, it was during the big bulge, the big push for Vietnam, and they had cut our training down to about half the time. We had about 12 weeks, and there was a tremendous amount of people in there. It was dead of winter. It was very cold. We didn't get to fire guns or learn how to handle guns. We had 2x4s whittled to look like guns, and with pieces of pipe on them painted black for guns to parade and march. Everybody that's Army, Marines, any other service can't believe that we never handled guns. And it was a hectic time. I can't swim. I've never been able to swim in my whole life. And the only way I passed the swimming test was they had so many people in the pool that even with a dozen instructors, they didn't see me go to the bottom of the swimming pool and kick off. And that's how I passed the swimming test. And I realized I couldn't do that in the ocean. So for the rest of my Navy career, I always had 3 life jackets. One where I slept, one where I worked, and one near the chow hall.
And at Great Lakes, I was lucky enough to get into a department which I wound up as a lifeguard and swimming instructor my whole boot camp training. So I did very little marching. The only thing I didn't like about it was in the summertime, so to speak, here, and we had to take hatchets and break the ice on Lake Superior to put the whaleboats in to do boat practice. It was that cold up there.
They always seemed to pick out one guy to, I guess, kind of pick on a little bit, and it wasn't me, but I talked to the guy. He was a nice guy. So that stuck out in my memory. Also, what sticks out in boot camp was hand washing your skivvies and so on, and then putting them outside to dry in the freezing weather where they just ended up as icicles.
When I got to boot camp, I was 18 years old. It was from a small town called Glendive, Montana. It's on the very eastern side of Montana, very rural. 3,000 to 4,000 people in the town. Let's just say there's a lack of cultural diversity there. And so when I got to boot camp and got to see 90 people in a small barracks of all different backgrounds and all different cultures, I was a little shocked, to say the least. I had actually never even laid eyes on an African American, Hispanic, Asian, or other, for that matter, until maybe other than the Harlem Globetrotters coming through for a quick visit in my small town. And so when I got to boot camp and found out that my bunkmate was a gentleman from Mississippi whose name was Breakerfield, we were both in a little bit of culture shock, being placed in such close proximity to one another. And so for probably the first 4 weeks of boot camp, we just really didn't talk or associate or ask questions for fear that one or the other would say or do something wrong. So we just kept quiet. And then after a while and a little bit of time together, we actually kind of had a breakthrough where we opened up and started to chat. And I asked him a little bit about racial tensions and asked him his opinion on me and if I ever offended him or if I ever came across that way. I really didn't know much about racism. I really only knew one way of living. So I was really timid about having the conversation or asking the questions. And I asked him frankly, do you feel like I'm a racist or that all white people are racist? And he looked at me and he said, "Denins, you don't know how to hate." And I said, "What do you mean by that?" He said, "We can see hate, we know hate, and you do not have hate in your eyes. You are without hate." And that always made me feel really good. And I've told that story to anybody who I care about over the years. It's personal, but it's a good story.
A lot of marching. The thing about boot camp is you figure you're taking 60, 70 guys from all over the country, from all different walks of life, and even think about the 1980s. In fact, where I grew up in Southern California, there was 3 African Americans in my high school, and the high school size was about 500 or 600. And so then to show up to boot camp, and there's a wide range, a mixture of ethnicity and people, but within 24 hours, you have your head shaved, you all look like Smurfs, you're all wearing blue dungarees, you're lost and confused, you all look the same, except maybe the color of your skin. But that coming together, that commonality, really, it's the first time I think that somebody experiences that kind of family, that kind of teamwork, that kind of relationship, especially as a bunch of guys. And that's something that carries with, I think, anybody that serves in the military. You don't really experience that in the civilian world.
It worked fine. It worked fine because from the time you get to boot camp, you're going to be with guys from all over, even guys of your same nationality. He's from Kentucky. He's from Indiana. I'm from Philadelphia. You get a guy from New York. And because you're young and you're being broke down, and all of the things that you were maybe raised with or where you was raised, you see that it's not that way. I have to let that go. I'm here now. I'm with 10 guys from that are Hispanic descent, or guys that are 2 guys might be Native American, 1 guy might be from Caribbean, and 10 guys might be white guys from some from the deep South. And you have to let that go, because that's what the military does. It makes you a melting pot because you need each other. You will be weeded out. You will quickly be found out if you're harboring any type of hate or racism. You will, and it won't be tolerated, because I've something I always think about. Everyone is the same age, and that pretty much puts everybody equal here. And when you get a bunch of guys that's together, everyone says, you know what? You gotta go.
I was expecting, like you see in the movies, but I think those movies are a little more extreme. Boot camp, I don't have anything that stands out a whole lot. It was different. was kind of neat that you meet all these different people from all across the country, and they give you the haircut, they give you the same clothes, and they just want to conform you to the military. And it was neat because I enjoyed the discipline. And one thing that this guy told me later in the Navy, because when I was on ship, I said, all the times that I was in boot camp, why? I don't understand why you have to shine your shoes right and make your bed right and keep your uniform and this and that. And he said to me, if the military gives you these small little responsibilities and you can't do them right, do you think they're going to give you any bigger ones? And I was like, wow. So he said, I want you to really just do this to understand that we're doing these small things to build you up and train you and really just, become a great sailor or, military person. And I really, I didn't have a lot of discipline growing up, and I really enjoyed that. I almost it was nice to learn that. And so understanding those things at boot camp, while you're going through it at the time, you don't really, you're just like, gotta shine my shoes, gotta do this and that. So
I remember there were times where if we didn't perform the way our company commanders wanted to, we'd come back and it literally looked like a hurricane went through our barracks. Everything was flipped over end on end. There was just, your skivvies were on the other side of the barracks, and mattresses were everywhere. So that was kind of when that first happened was a big eye opener there. How important it was to pay attention to details as a company. Or they'd come in there at 3 o'clock in the morning, slamming down these metal trash cans to wake you up in the middle of the night just for whatever reason.
2 or 3 weeks into training, it was a Sunday, and the company commanders weren't there, and so I decided that I would have some fun with a couple of the guys, and we ended up putting a guy in a laundry bag and dragging him around the barracks, which was neat. It was like the second or third deck. And then we went, hey, let's go places. So I drug him down 4 flights of stairs. He enjoyed it because he was laughing the whole time, but I got caught at the bottom of the stairs, and I paid dearly for that. But that's pretty much my whole career in a nutshell.
It was pretty good. I was smart enough to realize it was all a game, in that I didn't take it personally. All the yelling and screaming and all the stuff they make you do, they were going to find something. I remember failing an inspection and watching the company commander pull an inspected by thing out of his pocket and stick it in my shirt, and all you could do is take it. So
stories, one time, we all had to have inspection coming up, and we all did the best we could, make our bunks, perfect, racks, everything, and shoes and all. And he said, all right, we're all going to go out and march. And when we came back to our barracks, he had actually thrown all the mattresses out the window, right, half of them, and they just threw the place apart like a tornado. And he goes, this is, unsatisfactory. And, so we had to put it all again. But it was just a training to condition us to do it, And it was entertaining, and it was educational. It was good.
So this was another video in our In Their Own Words series. There's a link in the description below to that playlist if you'd like to see other compilations of oral histories. What is a topic you would like to see in a future In Their Own Words video? Let us know in the comment section down below. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, also from a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves. We really appreciate the support you guys have given us throughout the years. There's a link in the description below if you'd like to continue donating to support the channel. You can also support the museum by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find out about us. Thanks for watching.